Hello everyone, I'm back again for the latest video. In this video, we'll be looking at adding more features, setting up the GitHub social login for our note sharing app. In the previous video, we managed to add a new user using GitHub social login. Now, in this video, we'll continue with that, but we'll first associate a user with a note so that each time a user authors a note, it is registered in the Strapi backend who wrote the note. So we need to make sure our Strapi server is running, and I've made sure my Strapi server is running. So in this step, I will add a user from the user permissions plugin, the ones we add using the GitHub social login, and add a relation field that will add a one-to-many relation to a note. So I will click on the content type builder. I'll click on the content type builder. So let's find the content type builder. Sorry, let me expand this, and there we go, content type builder. Now right there, as you can see, we have two fields for our note, which is the title and the content field. Now we're going to click on add another field. We want to add another field to this collection, and the field we want to add is a relation field, right? So we will, in the right drop down, we will click there and say user from user permissions, and we want a user to be able to write as many notes, so we'll have a one-to-many. So we'll say user has many notes. If we clicked on the other one, it would say note belongs to many users. We don't want that. In this app, it's a simple configuration where one user can write many notes, but a single note cannot have many users or authors. So what we want to do next is click finish, so that we register this new field, new relation field. So we'll click finish, and we have added a new collection, a new field to our collection. The next step is to save this field by clicking save. This will have to restart our Strapi server. So as we wait for our Strapi server to restart, we can review what we just did, and we clicked edit and added a new field to the note collection, a relation field with a one-to-many. Now the thing, as we wait for our server to restart, and it has restarted, so we'll refresh. We'll simply refresh this page. That's how we'll know that it has worked. So now, as we wait for our server to restart, we'll refresh the page, but in the log for the backend, it is registered that it has created the new collection, the new field for the collection. So, and we have refreshed our, and there we have it. Our note collection has three fields now: the title, the content, and the user from the user permissions plugin. So after this, we want to assign notes to users. In the previous video, we managed to register one user, we want to register another user so that we can have two users, each with different notes. So right now we have one user, so we want to add a second user, and we will have to do this by, so like we said, we're adding a second GitHub user, authenticated user who uses social login for our app. So we'll just copy the link, connect to the social provider in the Strapi backend, and open a new browser session for the user is logged in right now. So we paste and go to the, so we'll go through the auth flow for the second user. And there we have, so I'll paste in the password, and as it authorizes, and there we have the token. So let's copy the URL. Once we copy that URL for the second user, we're good with the second user. So the next thing we want is to get the code. We want to use this code to get the token that the user uses. We want two users that we can add to our secrets. And so for us to add the token, or to get the token, we must run a curl command. So first we'll retrieve the access token from the URL we just copied for the user. And so just give me a sec as I copy the code. Now as I copy this code, I will then paste it in so that I can get the JWT from the Strapi server. We want the JWT. We just want to test if this user can be added. So the next thing we'll do is curl the auth backend for Strapi and run the command. Let's run the command and wait. So I've pasted the results in a file called test6.json, and there we have it. The user has been registered in our Strapi backend. There we have, includes the email and the document ID and the ID of the user and the JWT. So we got the response. Now we'll copy the JWT from the response, the JSON web token. So we will copy the JWT and add it to our secrets. So we'll open the secret file and add, this is for the second authenticated user for our app. So we'll copy the JWT and add it to our secrets. We want to use it later and load the secrets into our shells environment variables. Right, we've added the second token. The first token was added in the previous video. So next we'll export the findings so that these tokens are part of the shell's environment variables. So copy and export the contents of that file. And yes, so next we want to test the token by performing a find request. Right, so this just confirms that the token works, and we'll perform a find request, and it's working. So if you want to see that it works, we'll create a file to show you the output. And I've named the file test8.json, and there you have it. It managed to retrieve all the nodes, so it's working perfectly. Now in this following step, now that we have added a second user to our Notes app and is in the Strapi backend, we want to assign notes for each user. So we'll visit the content manager in the Strapi dashboard, and right now I'll visit the content manager, right, and I'll click on the note collection types. This will display all the notes in the content manager. Now if you click on one note, you'll see that it doesn't have a user, so we must add the user. And so we'll click the drop down and select one of the users, so one for this one, then click save, and we'll do the same for the other notes. So right now I'll pause the video and return once I have finished adding users for all the nodes. And there we have it. I've finished adding the users, assigning nodes to each user. As you can see, first node is assigned Mark Tower, and the second node is assigned the other user. So the next thing after assigning nodes to each user, we want to test find for authenticated users. It means when a user performs a GET request to get a list of nodes, they should return the nodes. But what we want is a user to be able to return to get nodes that belong to them and them alone, not to the other user. So if we perform a find request now, we find that each user will get all the nodes, including nodes they didn't author. And to prove this, let's perform a GET request for the first user using curl. So I'll copy the command and paste it in, right? Control V, and I'll save it in a file called test9.json so that you can see the response. So if we click here, as you can see, I performed the request as the first user. However, and the first user only owns the first node, the third node, and the fifth node. Unfortunately, even the second node and the fourth node, the first user can see. And this is a problem, which means an author can view nodes that don't belong to them, that they didn't write, that they didn't author. We want each authenticated user to just see the nodes that they authored themselves. So for us to fix this problem, we need to override the find method in the Strapi, the find method in the nodes controller for Strapi. So in this case, we'll stop the Strapi server. Then we will have to override the find method in the nodes controller. So I'll open up the nodes controller in the code editor. So I'll go to source. Under the source directory, I'll click API. Under the API directly, I'll click on node. So in the node directory, so I need to fix that, I'll click it in the controllers folder, And in the controllers folder, there's a file named Nuxt.js, which will house all the methods for the Node controller. So what we'll do is replace all that code with the following code. This we'll replace all that code with the following code, which will be module.exports is going to create controller API. No. So now we'll add an arrow function and call that Strapi right there, and then this is the arrow function. In this arrow function, that's where we'll add the find method, because each time a request is made, which means a user requests to find all the nodes, we need to customize or the results, and this is how we customize the results. So we say const user ctx state user, and we have to return. So we are returning by filtering the user. So we'll check each user for each user associated with each node and filter. So if someone requests, we'll check the ID, the token, and map it to the nodes that are associated with you. So we'll use the filter method. This is how you use the filters according to the document service API. So we are filtering based on the user. We are filtering the nodes based on the user. Okay, so once we are done with that, we can restart the server and test if it works. So let's restart the Strapi server, and the server is about to start. Yes, it started successfully. Now we can test if a user will view only the nodes that belong to them. So let's run it for test10.json. Okay, let's check it out. So now, if everything is successful, we should see the nodes that belong to the user. Oh, we had an invalid key. So, and the invalid key is user. So we need to fix this error. So we need to fix. So we encountered an error. The error is an invalid key user. When we performed the previous request, we valid key user, and the key is user and path. Now if we check our schema file for the nodes collection, the key is actually users permission user. So we need to update the controller with the precise value, which is user permissions user, not user. That's the mistake we made. So as you can see here, the value is user and not user permission user. So let's just update that, and we've updated it with users permission user. Now we can restart the Strapi server. I'm sure now it will. If we perform the find request as an authenticated user, we should be able to return only the nodes that the user owns. And so let's perform the request again. I'll create a new file called test11.json for the results, and let's run it again. So let's click to view the results, and there we go. We have the nodes as expected, and this time it's only the nodes that belong to the user, not the other nodes that don't belong to the, only the nodes that belong to the user. So the controller method we added, the controller override we added, has worked as suspected. As you can see here, much more clearer. It's only 3 nodes, and this user owns 3 nodes, and that's right. So the response now only includes the owner's nodes. We are supposed to override the other methods like find one, delete, update, and create, but we will handle them when we do error handling and security. So that's the end of the video. In the next video, we'll look at adding authentication to the Nuxt. So this is now authentication in the front end, so that our Nuxt UI allows us to log in to create nodes for the specific user. Thanks for watching.